Last night, Keir Starmer walked into a room full of his own MPs, knowing that many of them no longer trust his leadership. The meeting was billed as a reset, a chance to steady the ship. Instead, it exposed just how fragile his grip on the party has become. What unfolded behind those closed doors could define the future of Labour and Starmer's own survival as Prime Minister. Let's break it down, but first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Last night, Keir Starmer faced the Labour Parliamentary Party head-on in a crunch meeting that many inside Westminster are now calling the most important of his premiership so far. The Prime Minister stood before his MPs as his so-called leadership reset threatened to unravel just weeks before Labour's annual conference in Liverpool. The immediate flashpoint was the fallout from Angela Rayner's resignation as deputy leader. Her exit triggered a reshuffle that left MPs deeply unsettled rather than reassured. Yvette Cooper was shifted into the Foreign Office. Shabana Mahmood was placed in the Home Office. David Lammy stayed as Deputy Prime Minister. But the mood in the room last night was not one of unity. It was of frustration, suspicion, and in some corners, outright rebellion. Starmer's refusal to guarantee that Rayner's successor would even have a seat in cabinet has angered many MPs, particularly those on the Labour left. For them, the deputy leader role is supposed to mean influence at the very top of government. Instead, they've been told it's just a party position with no automatic cabinet role attached. And that point dominated much of the discussion in last night's showdown. The meeting came at the end of a bruising few weeks for Starmer. His attempt at a reset since the summer recess has stumbled badly. Aides have been dropping like flies. Tom Kibasi, once hailed as the strategy architect of Starmer's leadership campaign, left Downing Street after just 2 weeks. He joins a growing list that already includes former Chief of Staff Sue Gray, Nim Pandit, and Matthew Doyle. For a man who promised professionalism and stability, the churn at the heart of Number 10 has become a serious vulnerability. And now the battle for deputy leader has begun in earnest. The field is quickly dividing the party into two clear camps. On one side is the hard left, furious at what they see as an undemocratic stitch-up. Bel Ribeiro Addy became the first Labour MP to publicly declare her candidacy, warning that rushing the contest is a blatant attempt to lock out the left. She told colleagues last night, "This must be a full and fair contest with a genuine left candidate on the ballot." On the other side of the spectrum is Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson. She officially announced her bid shortly before the crunch meeting, styling herself as a proud working-class woman from the northeast who has already proven she can beat Nigel Farage in his own backyard. Phillipson's pitch was clear. Labour needs fighters who can go toe-to-toe with reform and still stand firm on equality and social justice. Other names are circling too. Emily Thornberry, Louise Hay, Lucy Powell, Stella Creasy, Dawn Butler, Annalisa Dodds, and more are all weighing up their chances. Jess Phillips and Lisa Nandy have ruled themselves out, and Shabana Mahmood has made clear she is focused solely on the Home Office. But one thing is certain, this contest is shaping up to be a battle not just for a role, but for Labour's identity. Even senior Labour figures are raising the alarm. Andy Burnham has urged Starmer to use the contest to open up debate, not shut it down. He's warned that MPs are losing the whip unfairly, and that Labour risks alienating good people who should be inside the tent. "We need a different style here," Burnham said, "so that everyone is included and we pull together." The damage, though, may already be done. Instead of projecting authority and momentum, Starmer is fighting fires on multiple fronts. A rebellious left, restless backbenchers, departing aides, and a looming party conference where unity will be under the microscope. So what did last night's meeting achieve? Reports from the room suggest Starmer did a little more than buy time. He was defiant, yes. He insisted that Labour must stay disciplined and focused. But the unease was obvious, and the divisions were laid bare. The truth is, Labour now faces weeks of turbulence. The deputy leadership race is already splitting MPs along ideological, geographical, and even gender lines. And Reform UK continues to climb in the polls, ready to exploit any sign of weakness. Starmer hoped September would be the month he reset his leadership. Instead, it's become the month he's battling to hold it together. The crisis inside Labour is real, it's raw, and after last night's crunch meeting, it's clear this fight for authority is far from over. In other news, the UK could suspend visas from countries that do not play ball and agree to returns deals for migrants, Shabana Mahmood has said. The new Home Secretary made the comment as she met counterparts from the Five Eyes Intelligence Sharing Alliance for talks on international efforts to tackle smuggling gangs. Ms Mahmood, the MP for Birmingham Ladywood, also announced she will not be running for deputy leader of the Labour Party following the resignation of Angela Rayner. Some 1,097 people arrived in the UK in 17 boats on Saturday, bringing the total in 2025 so far to 30,100, a record for this point in a year. When asked about the likelihood of visa cuts, Ms Mahmood said, "For countries that do not play ball, we've been talking about how we can take much more coordinated action between the Five Eyes countries. For us, that means including possibly the cutting of visas in the future. Just to say, we do expect countries to play ball, play by the rules. And if one of your citizens has no right to be in our country, you do need to take them back." Mahmood said the numbers were utterly unacceptable and that she expected migrant returns under a deal agreed last month with France to begin imminently. She continued, "I'm very clear that there has to be a strong approach to maintaining our border. And that does mean saying to countries who do not take their citizens back that we're not simply going to allow our laws to remain unenforced. That they do have to play ball, they have to come to the table. Cutting visas is one of the ways to do that." She also announced the government will come forward with changes to how the European Convention on Human Rights, ECHR, is implemented in the UK, the Home Secretary has said. Mahmood once again said that under Labour, the UK would not be leaving the convention, as this would have other consequences that we think are not in our national interest. But she said the government saw the case for reform primarily in our domestic legal framework, tightening up the rules. She said, "In the end, this is about how you strike the balance between human rights on the one hand and securing our borders. I do think that balance isn't in the right place at the moment. That's why we will come forward with changes to our domestic legislation and the guidance in terms of how we apply some of the convention rights legally here at home." Spanish police were forced to board a Ryanair flight and drag off members of a British stag do after they caused chaos on board. Travelers had been hoping to arrive in Spanish hotspot Alicante on Thursday in peace. But the Guardia Civil were waiting on the tarmac as the flight touched down from Leeds Bradford. Officers came aboard at around 7:30 p.m. after cabin crew called ahead for help with passengers who had been fighting mid-air. The Boeing 737-800 had barely finished its 2.5-hour journey when police stormed in to remove the troublemakers. One witness described the scenes as carnage before the disruptive group were finally hauled off the plane. However, the trouble was said to have started well before landing. One passenger told The Sun that the stag party members appeared drunk from the moment they boarded in Leeds. They were getting rowdy and leery towards the end of the flight, and the crew called ahead for police backup, the passenger said. Everyone was fed up with them by the end. Video footage captured the moment officers wrestled one man off the aircraft, while other passengers shouted, "Get off the fucking plane." Ryanair issued a stern statement in response, with a spokesman decrying misconduct in the air. Ryanair has a strict zero-tolerance policy towards passenger misconduct and will continue to take decisive action to combat unruly passenger behavior, ensuring that all passengers and crew travel in a respectful and stress-free environment without unnecessary disruption, the low-cost carrier said. This is a matter for local police. Some 1,820 flights run from Leeds Bradford to Alicante annually, with an average of 35 every week. In 2024, Alicante was the most popular destination for flyers heading from Leeds Bradford, with over 50,000 more passengers flying to the lively Costa Blanca resort than in 2023. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.